If you pay for alarm monitoring, here's the question that really matters. What actually happens when your system goes off? A lot of homeowners think monitoring just means somebody calls me, but that's only part of the story. There's the signal leaving your house, there may be a cloud platform in the middle, there's the monitoring center, there's the operator that handles signals from your system, and there's the process they follow. And not all monitoring is built the same way. In this video, I'll show you how alarm monitoring actually works in simple terms so you know what you're really buying. For quick context, I ran a security alarm installation business for over 20 years. So I've worked with alarm systems, monitoring centers, false alarms, real alarms, and the questions homeowners usually don't think to ask until after something goes wrong. Most people picture monitoring like this. A sensor trips, the alarm company gets it, they call you, then they send police if needed. That's not wrong, but it leaves a lot out. Because monitoring is not just a phone call, it's a chain. A sensor detects something, the alarm panel decides what kind of signal it is, that signal gets sent out of the house. In many modern systems, it may go through a cloud platform in the middle. Then it reaches a monitoring center. Then an operator follows a process. Then, depending on the situation, someone may call you, call your emergency contacts, or request a dispatch. That whole chain matters, because if any part of that chain is weak, delayed, or confusing, the homeowner experience can be very different from what they expected. Let's keep this simple. Say a protected door opens while the system is armed. First, the sensor sees the event. Then the alarm panel treats that event as a specific kind of signal. Depending on the system and how it is programmed, that signal might mean burglary alarm, fire alarm, panic signal, trouble condition, low battery, communication failure, or something else. That matters because not every signal is handled the same way. A burglary alarm is one thing. A smoke alarm is another. A low battery or trouble signal is something else. So when people say my system talks to the monitoring center, what they really mean is the panel sends a coded signal that tells the next step in the chain what kind of event happened, and that coded signal helps prioritize what happens next. This is the part many homeowners never even think about. How does the signal actually leave your house? In simple terms, alarm systems usually send signals through one or more communication paths, such as internet, cellular, or sometimes both. Older systems often use traditional phone lines, and in many of those older setups, the panel could send signals more directly to the monitoring center, sometimes even straight to your local authorities. But with modern systems, there's often an extra step in the middle. Before the signal gets to the monitoring center, it may first go to a network operations center. That sounds technical, so here's the simple version. Think of it as a cloud platform in the middle. And that cloud platform often does two important jobs. First job, mobile app communication. If you arm or disarm your system from your phone, check system status, or look at notifications in an app, that usually is not your phone talking directly to the panel in your house. In many systems, your phone talks to the cloud platform first. Then that cloud platform relays the information back and forth between your phone and the alarm system in your home. So even if you're sitting in your family room using your app, that communication may still be going out to the internet, up to the cloud platform, and then back down to your system. The second job is alarm signal relaying. In many modern systems, alarm signals also pass through that same kind of cloud platform. So instead of the panel sending the alarm straight to the monitoring station, the panel may send it first to the cloud platform, and then the platform forwards it to the monitoring center. That's a big change from how many older systems worked, and it matters for one simple reason. It adds another step that has to work properly. Now, some of these cloud platforms are built with strong backup systems and redundancy, But the homeowner takeaway is still important. Modern monitoring often depends on more than just your panel and the monitoring center. There may also be a cloud platform in the middle. And every extra step in the signal path matters because in real emergencies, seconds matter. Once the signal reaches the monitoring center, it doesn't just sit there waiting for someone to notice it. It enters a workflow, much of which is typically automated. An operator sees the event and follows a set of rules. In a simple burglary example, that often means the signal comes in, the operator reviews the account and event type, the operator follows the account instructions, the operator may call the premises, the operator may call the homeowner or emergency contacts you have on file, and depending on the event and the rules, the operator may request police dispatch. That's the basic idea. The important point is this: the operator is following a process. They're not just making it up in the moment, and that process can vary from one provider to another. Some move fast and clearly, some have more layers, some verify alarms differently, some use different call sequences. That's one reason two companies can both say they offer professional monitoring but still deliver very different experiences. This is the part many homeowners miss. A lot of people compare equipment, mobile app features, and monthly price. Far fewer compare the monitoring itself, but the monitoring side can differ in important ways. For example, some companies may rely mainly on one physical central monitoring station. Others may have multiple stations in different locations. Why does that matter? Backup. If one center has a problem, maybe a weather issue that prevents operators from getting to work that day, an outage, or overload, another center may still be able to take signals. You don't need to become an expert in redundancy. You just need to understand that more backup is usually better than less. Owned monitoring versus outsourced monitoring is another important question. Some companies sell you the system and also closely control the monitoring operation behind it. Others use a separate third-party monitoring center, which can also be called outsourced monitoring. Outsourced is not automatically bad. In some cases, it can be preferable, but it's something a buyer should understand, because the company selling you the system may not be the same company actually receiving and handling your alarm signals. So when a homeowner says, "I pay Company X for monitoring," the real question may be, is Company X actually doing the monitoring, or are they paying somebody else to do it? Again, not automatically good or bad, but important to know. A third differentiator is UL listed monitoring. Homeowners may also hear the phrase UL listed, but you don't need to turn this into a technical lesson. The simple version is this: a UL listed central station has met certain recognized industry standards and has been evaluated against them. That doesn't tell you everything, but it does tell you the monitoring center is operating under a higher level of formal standard than "trust us, we do monitoring." So if you're comparing providers, asking whether the monitoring center is UL listed is a reasonable question. A fourth difference is the cloud platform in the middle. This is the newer part that a lot of homeowners never even think about. Even if the monitoring center itself is strong, you may still be depending on a cloud platform in the middle to move signals from your house to that center. That platform may also be handling your mobile app, notifications, remote arm and disarm, and signal routing. So when homeowners compare monitoring, they may actually be comparing two things at once: the monitoring center and the platform feeding signals into it. That's important because a strong monitoring center still depends on getting the signal in the first place. A fifth differentiator is the verification process. What happens before dispatch is requested? Do they call you first? Do they call the home first? Do they require a password? Do they call emergency contacts? Do they treat burglary, fire, panic, and trouble signals differently? Those details matter because they affect both speed and false alarm handling. Sixth is trouble signal handling. Monitoring is not just about break-ins. A good monitoring setup should also help with things like low battery, communication failure, panel offline situations, supervision issues, and other trouble conditions. Because part of the value of monitoring is not just emergency response, it's also knowing when the system itself has a problem. I'll add one more question I believe is valuable, and that is whether the company publishes anything meaningful about monitoring performance. For example, average response times for high priority signals like a fire alarm. Some do provide this information, some don't. And while a number by itself doesn't tell you everything, a company that's willing to show you how it performs is giving you more to evaluate than one that just says, trust us. If I were a homeowner shopping today, these are the questions I would ask. Keep them simple. Question 1. How does my system send signals? Internet? Cellular? Both? Question 2. What happens if one path fails? Is there a backup? Question 3. Is there a cloud platform in the middle? And what happens if that platform has a problem? Question 4. Who's actually doing the monitoring? The company selling me the service or a separate monitoring facility? Question 5. Is the monitoring outsourced? If yes, to whom? Question 6. Is the monitoring center UL listed? Question 7. Does your monitoring center have a single physical location or multiple redundant locations? Question 8. What is your burglary alarm process? Who gets called first? How is the alarm verified? When is dispatch requested? Question 9. What happens with trouble signals, low battery, communication failure, system offline? And last, question 10. Do you publish any performance information like average response times to priority alarms, such as fire alarms? That kind of number does not tell you everything, but transparency is usually better than silence. All of these are much better questions than just, how much is it, or what app does it use? Okay, this part matters too. Monitoring does not replace good system design. It doesn't replace the right sensors, and it doesn't replace actually using the system the right way. A monitoring center can't receive a signal that never gets generated. But once a real signal does exist, the monitoring side may be one of the most important differences between providers. It can affect how fast the signal moves, how clearly it's handled, and how consistent the process is under stress. So the right way to think about monitoring is this. Sensors detect, monitoring determines what happens next. That doesn't make monitoring magic, but it can absolutely be the deciding factor between systems that otherwise look similar on the surface. So if you remember one thing from this video, remember this. Monitoring is not just someone calls me. It's the full path from your sensors to your panel, through the communication path, often through a cloud platform in the middle, into a monitoring center, and then through an operator process. And that path can be built very differently from one provider to another. So homeowners should ask better questions before they choose. Not just what does it cost, or what app does it use, but how does it communicate? What platform is in the middle? Who's actually doing the monitoring? Is the station UL listed? What process do they follow? And do they share anything meaningful about performance? Because once a real signal is produced by your system, the quality of the monitoring side may be one of the biggest differences between systems that otherwise seem similar. That's where a lot of the real difference exists. If this was helpful, please comment with your response to this question. Before this video, did you think monitoring was mostly the same from one company to another? Because that's really the point here. A lot of companies charge monthly monitoring fees in roughly the same general range. But that doesn't mean the monitoring behind those fees is the same. The signal path may be different, the platform in the middle may be different, the monitoring center itself may be different, the backup may be different, the process may be different. And once a real signal exists, those differences can matter a lot. So if you're shopping, don't just ask what monitoring costs, ask how it works. We'll keep building this buyer framework in the next video so you can choose your system with more confidence. If this kind of experience-based guidance is helpful, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.